professional reports. And the second area is the assessment procedure. How are you assessed in the case study? Now, other papers, the 4 papers in the professional level, you see that there is a marking key or there is a marking guide. They'll give you a question, for example, SFM. What is SFM? They'll say 2 marks. But case study does not have that. So you need to understand how case study is marked. And I also have a format, a report on PDF I've shared severally on the platform, where I showed you in that document, 1-page document, PDF, PowerPoint document that was converted to PDF, how you are marked, how you are scored in the case study paper. So this chapter we are going to look at, which is chapter 11, pragmatically teaches us how you are marked in case study. And chapter 11 is dedicated to assessment procedure, which we'll be looking at. How are you assessed in the case study? So that's what we'll be looking at tonight, hopefully. Then we have the second to the last chapter, which is chapter 12, technological tools for businesses. And we also have the last one, soft skills for accountants. So we'll struggle to see how to finish that before Sunday, hopefully, so that we'll be done with lectures. Then we'll just concentrate strategically on how to integrate all our thoughts, processes, all the information overload you have, and make sure you strategically put them together to be able to answer the 2 requirements in 4 hours and ace this case study very seamlessly. Okay, so by way of learning objective, by way of the assessment procedure, we'll be looking at the learning objective for this course. And please, if you have any questions, our class is a democratic class. Please raise your hand, interject freely. If you raised your hand, I didn't see it, maybe it didn't flash, please just stop me. I have something to say so the thought don't escape, or whatever you want to clarify has eluded you or something. So just interject very freely. All right, so by way of outcome, as you can see on the screen, we'll be having the learning objective, the learning outcome. The first unit will be looking at competency-based assessments and how are your marks allocated in the case study exams. We'll be looking at that. Then we'll be looking at the marking key. It's very important to understand how you are marked, the key. A lot of people think if you perform all your calculations in the appendix and just write some things, you pass case study. No, there's a special marking key. If you just make calculations are just 8 marks, no matter the calculations requirement 1 and 2. So without your writing, you cannot pass case study with just calculations. So it's a paper-based, it's a report writing paper. So you have to understand that. The 4th unit will be looking at marks within skill boxes. What are the skill boxes you need to display or write on? 5th box will be looking at constructing the marking key. How do you construct that marking key in the 3rd unit? Then we'll look at the 6th unit on an example of a marking key. Then very importantly, the 7th unit, how are grades awarded in the case study exams? And the 8th unit will be looking at how numerical work, your calculations, your appendices, how are they rewarded? Then number 9 is what is the appropriate grade profile? There's a profile you're graded under. How are you graded? And number 10, we'll be looking at quality versus quantity. Very importantly, is it how much you write or how good is your content in the case study? Should I write 40 pages, 30 pages report? So we'll look at that in the 10th unit. And finally, we'll look at 11. Sorry, not 12. That should be a typo error. So we'll be looking at 11. Which is finally the exam focus. Very important. The exam focus is what we'll be looking at in the last unit on this chapter. So please pay attention and ask your questions where necessary. Okay, so please confirm you can see my screen. I think it went off. Please confirm again, somebody, if you can see it clearly and you can hear me very clearly.
Yes, sir. We can see your screen. We can hear you as well, sir.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for that feedback. All right, so let's get to work. By way of learning objective for the assessment procedure module, by the end of this chapter, our objective it's that we should be able to explain assessment procedures. You should be able to understand how you are assessed in the case study exam. So your assessment will help you to be able to prepare and practice with that information at the back of your mind on this is what I'm supposed to do. This is how I'm supposed to write, and this is what I'm supposed to provide as output in the case study. So that's the objective, for you to be able to explain and understand the assessment procedure for the case study paper. And after we're done with everything on the module contents, you should be able to, at the end of this chapter, understand assessment procedures in the case study exams, and also understand the marking key and how it is used in assessment. How do examiners use the marking key to assess candidates in the case study exams? So this is very important. All right, so by way of this first unit, we'll be looking at the competency-based assessment and marks allocation. So in the case study exams, there is the competency-based assessment, which is focused on providing evidence of your professional writing skills. Your analytical skills and your report writing skills should be provided by candidates, and that's the basis for which you are assessed in the case study. So you must display some skills in writing, and those skills must be evident that you have the understanding of what the case study paper and report writing is all about. So the assessment starts with generic competencies tailored to specific case study requirements. So in the exam, you have two requirements principally, and those two requirements must be assessed based on those competencies you provide in your paper. Somebody asked me a question last Saturday. He failed the last diet case study paper. And he said, "Sir, how many requirements was in the last May 2025 diet paper?" I said 2. He said, "No, sir, there were 4. And I wrote based on those 4 requirements." I said, "Wow, there's always been 2 case study requirements. It's just that it's splitted into different houses." What do I mean splitted into different houses? He may say Roman numeral 1, Roman numeral 2, Roman numeral 3, Roman numeral 4. No, there are 2 requirements. So he just decided to split them. So don't get yourself confused. Read the first number or the first splitted requirement, link it to the second one. Most at times, you see that the first and the second is there are 2 different requirements. It's just that they are different commands, but they are in one requirement. There may be 3 and 4. He linked them together. It's always requirement 1 and 2. So he said he was answering 4 different requirements. I said, no. Well, that was his first time. The examiner will always provide some kind of complex requirements. So if you don't understand how to delineate requirement 1 and 2, you get confused and you think it's 4 requirements. So that's what practice does. And I told him, no, there are always 2 requirements. So margin Roman numeral 1 and 2 or 3 and 4 to know which one is requirement 1 and 2 is also a skill you are tested on. So the competencies are tailored towards just 2 requirements. Take note of that. No matter the numbers, he could split the requirement into the requirement Roman numeral 1 to 6. There are always 2 requirements. Take note of that. Also, your assessed skills and the list of them are combined with case requirements, which creates a tailored list for every case study exam. So every skill you're supposed to display for the case study exams are created by the examiner, and they are just 2. And every other list based on the boxes, based on the requirements, based on what you are supposed to write on, are what you are examined by. So that is what determines the competency and how your marks are allocated. So that's just a brief introduction on the competency-based assessment and marks allocation we're looking at. So understand there are just 2 requirements, and the marks are allocated 50-50 for each requirement. Please take note of that. Equal marks, 2 requirements, 50-50 each. Very key. So let's look at the marking key in this next unit, the marking key. Now, the objective assessment using a specific marking key for each case study is very important. So you are objectively assessed and you are marked based on a marking key. And the mark allocation provides you with just two main requirements, like I said earlier in the first unit. Two requirements. Forget the into splinter houses, Roman numeral 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, if you read in between the lines, you'll be able to link which one. So there are single barrel questions and there are double barrel questions. So where the examiner says, provides a phrase and says, and he links it and said, no, Roman numeral 2. No, he's continuing a request. You can say and then Roman numeral 2. That doesn't mean there are two different requirements. So very importantly, take note of that. You have two main requirements with marks 50-50 for each requirement. And that's how the marks are allocated, very importantly. And marks are also given to you for integrative and multidisciplinary skills, including your appendix. Don't forget, earlier in the classes, different modules we've looked at, chapters, we said your strategic financial management knowledge, your performance management knowledge, your taxation knowledge, your strategic business reporting knowledge must be brought to bear. The only knowledge you don't need for case study right now is your AAAF. It has been removed in this current dispensation. So you don't need AAAF knowledge, which is advanced audit, assurance, and forensics knowledge. But the other three papers, SBR, SFM, ATAX, performance management at skill level, you need those multidisciplinary skills to write the case study, because some of those concepts, principles are tested in case study for you to be able to integrate them in calculations and also provide them in your submissions, your reports. So very important to take note. Your marks are awarded based on these integrative skills, on these multidisciplinary skills, and the calculations of some of the appendices, the calculations you provide in some of these appendices are from those multidisciplinary skills like performance management, strategic financial management, and all that. So please take note of that. And also the skill assessment boxes, which are SABs, looks at 8 boxes. You are to be guided by these 8 boxes. You don't just write sporadically. You don't just write without a guide. You don't just write without direction. So you write your case study by form of 8 boxes you are guided by. And for each of the 2 requirements, you must write on these 8 boxes. On these 8 boxes, which we'll be looking at, and we've looked at in the last class on writing of a professional report. But then these 8 boxes should guide you in report writing. Very important. So the integrative and multidisciplinary skills have 4 boxes for the whole document. 2 of those boxes is for financial appendix, requirement 1 and 2. We'll be looking at that as we go on in the class. We also have the executive summary assessment box, which is very important. Without the executive summary, which is 20% of the total 100 marks, you cannot pass case study if you don't provide an executive summary. The examiner is clear on that. It's just 20%, but without it, you cannot pass case study. So an executive summary is a prerequisite to passing case study paper. And it is written last after you've provided all the write-up and the volume of data you've assessed and deciphered from the exhibits. You write it last. So you need to plan and practice around ensuring that you don't get yourself off time in writing your executive summary. So make sure your executive summary, if you want to finish requirement 1 and go and write the executive summary, is good. It's a good strategy. Then you go to requirement 2 and come to whatever strategy works for you. Practice with it. But understand you must provide an executive summary, which is an essential box. That is very important. You also have 5 boxes for the whole report. And that speaks to summarizing the responses to requirement 1 and 2, which speaks to a total of 25 skill boxes spread across the whole case study paper. So that speaks to the marking key in brief for you to understand how that works. So the next question is marks within the skill boxes. How are you allocated marks, or how do you earn the marks within the skill boxes? So typically the grade box allocation speaks to the executive summary has 5 points. I don't want to call them marks, but you have 5 points. Then based on the requirements, you have 8 points. That's 8 boxes you need to speak to. let's say the executive summary, you have 5 points you need to speak to or be guided by. Then for requirement 2, you have all the same thing, 8 boxes. Then for the overall paper, 2 boxes or 2 points you need to speak to. Then for the appendices, you need 2 points to speak to. So if you calculate it, executive summary 5, requirement 1, 8, that is 13. Requirement 2, 8, that is 21. 23 plus the 2 of this overall, paper report and 2 of appendices, you have 25 typical grade box allocation in the case study paper. So you have a total of 25 boxes you are graded on, and your assessment development starts with generic competencies tailored to the case study requirements based on how you are guided in this box. Don't get it twisted, don't get confused. You're going to see how this pragmatically applies as we go ahead in the classes. So that's how marks are given within the skill boxes. 5 executive summary, 8 requirement 1, 8 requirement 2, the overall report 2, and the appendices 2, culminating in 25 marks. Very important, which will be splitted by 4, and you have 100 marks. But we'll be looking at that, and you understand how this speaks, or how clear this will be as we continue. So the next unit we'll be speaking to is constructing the marking key. Now, the case study examiners select required competencies and set specific criteria for assessment of each. So the competencies you are to provide are based on the boxes and based on these requirements that guides how you should write, how you should build capacity to write your case study paper. And the criteria includes possible facts around technical and ethical knowledge, analysis output from calculations, from numbers you've crunched, implications, risks, effects, and impacts, professional judgments around your decision made that culminates in conclusions you've derived from data you've processed, and also recommendations relevant to the case and the exhibits provided for you. So these criteria are provided to you to be able to enhance your understanding and what you're going to bring out from those exhibits. So that's how to construct the marking key. You have a list of exhibits, maybe exhibit 1 down to exhibit 13. And most of them are matched between the pre-seen and the unseen paper. But you need to construct these to be able to earn your marks skillfully around analytical skills and report writing skills. So it's very important. So look at the exhibits as raw materials. Then you need to do work in progress, process them, and bring finished goods out in a very dynamic and comprehensive report for the examiner to say, oh, this chartered accountant has provided value. He has solved the problem for us, and we are awarding him these marks. That's how to construct the marking key. Very important. So let's look at the next unit, an example of the marking key. Now, the case study, sorry, I'm trying to run, don't mind me. Do we have any questions so far? Don't mind my speed. Any questions so far? If you do, please ask very freely. Any questions? We're kind of quiet. Am I speeding too much?
Continue, sir.
All right, it's fine then. Okay. So we're speaking to the 6th unit, speaking to an example of the marking key. An example of the marking key. So in the case study exams, you have a marking key, and you must be conscious of that. Just like you have in other papers, SFM, AAA, AF, ATAX, and SBR. They provide you with the marks as the questions are there. So there are marking keys for case study, even though it's not provided. The examiner did not provide that practically. But then it's often provided in a pragmatic way for you to understand, not expressly now, but impliedly. Examiners have provided this to guide you, to tell you this is where to concentrate on, and this is how to write the report, which I'll also be clarifying and helping you comprehend how it is provided. So you must understand that it requires challenging assumptions. Some of the Marking key requires challenging assumptions in the exhibits and applying professional skepticism that is important for accountants, chartered accountants, auditors in all business endeavors. You need to challenge assumptions, apply your professional skepticism, and also in the case study paper, you need to be skeptical about some of the information and all information provided to you. Speaking to potential parties with vested interest, whether personal interest, public interest, you need to critique every information you've been provided in the case study paper. And the examination requirements may revolve around interacting components, looking at assessment of current financial information, whether with adjustments, comparing past performance with current performance, looking at forecasts or some budgets. You need to be professionally skeptical about some of this information. And that's how you begin to glean and look for how to earn your marks by what you're supposed to write. You also need to evaluate problems, proposals based on the exhibits provided. The information is replete with a lot on contextual issues around what to choose, around options and issues, benefit, risks, ethical considerations. So your skills have to be harnessed in examining information and understanding how to come about concluding, pinpointing issues around benefit, cost benefits, risks and rewards, ethical considerations, which are very important in the case study paper. So the marking key sections, for example, has the executive summary, which is a snapshot of the whole report in just 2 pages. Executive summary is just 2 pages. Then you're marked 20 marks for the executive summary, 20 whole marks. So requirement 1 should be summarized. Requirement 2 should be summarized, 10 marks. Then you have the requirement 1, which is the body of the report. Mostly and predominantly comes around financial statement analysis or related issues. It's not a hard and fast rule because we've seen several diets where he did not test financial statement analysis in requirement 1 or 2 or few diets. But predominantly or significantly, he's been testing financial statement analysis in requirement 1. But keep your mind open. It may not come in requirement 1. Just follow his prompt based on his request. So requirement 1 looks at 32 marks. You have 8 boxes in requirement 1 and each box is 4 marks. So 8 times 4 is 32. So you have 32 marks plus your executive summary 20 marks. We already have how many marks? 52 marks. Then we have requirement 2, the same marking key awarded to requirement 1, 8 boxes by 4, 32 marks. So 32 plus 32 is 64. 64 plus 20, you already have 84 marks. You're left with 16 marks. All right. Then for the overall paper, you have the appendices and the report structure. So the appendices picked 8 marks for all the calculations you perform, requirement 1 and 2 calculations. You have 8 marks. Then for communication criteria and for the general report structure, you have 8 marks. So 84, we've already calculated, plus 8 and 8, 16. You already have 100 marks. So that's the marking key the examiner provides for this section of the report. So you start your paper by the appendices. Then you come up to requirement 1 by speaking to the numbers. Requirement 2, you speak to the numbers. Then you come to the executive summary. That's the general order of writing the report, basically. All right, so the marking key extracts provided as example of criteria used by examiners include boxes with 4 criteria. And where you fail to fill up these boxes or follow these criteria, then it leads to a grade drop. You significantly reduce your chance of passing the case study paper. So it's very important. So example of criteria within boxes speaks to the first box is using information and data. Data and information. And that's what gives you the first box. And you're supposed to provide 4 superior arguments based on data and information box, which gives you 4 marks for each of the requirements. Secondly, you need to provide analytical skills, which is your second box. And sorry, your second box is professional tools. I beg your pardon. You need to use professional tools based on what you've calculated in your appendix to explain your number crunching, your numbers you've crunched in the appendices. So your professional tools is the second box. Then number 3 is your analytical skills, how you are able to analyze those professional tools you've used. All of them are 4 superior arguments. Then number 4 is your issues and options. What are the challenges? What are the considerations in the paper? That's the 4th box. And also, the 5th box is your professional ethics, ethical considerations, very important. And that's a criteria. If you don't provide ethical issues, you have slim chances of passing the case study paper. And finally, your professional skills and judgment, evaluative skills and judgment around risk assessment and looking at risk from a positive and negative perspective. So those are 6 boxes. Number 1, I said data and information. Number 2, professional tools. Number 3, analytical skills. Number 4, issues and options. Number 5, ethical issues. And number 6, evaluative skills and judgment. Those are the principal 6 boxes you need to speak to in the case study paper. And the last 2, importantly, is your conclusions based on the first 6 boxes we spoke about and your recommendation. And this goes to both requirements. You follow this order for both requirements, as overall factors like the appendices and the report style or structure of the report would add to those marks. So for requirement 1 and 2, these are the 8 boxes. And that's how you're supposed to be guided. So you have subheaders and subheaders. These boxes should guide how you write the report based on the subheaders and the headers. We'll be looking at that as we take some of those papers for some of people that are coming in this class for the first time. Yes, please. Darasini, please go ahead. Your hands are up.
Well done, sir.
Thank you very much. Nice to have you.
I want to ask about the general overview of the data and information. Okay, so in one of those points there, can I write the competition the company has been facing, maybe how they have increased their market share within the years of the financial assessment? Can I write some things like that, not necessarily the financial data? Can I also put non-financial data there?
Good question. So you have the first box, which is data and information, but wherever you want to have non-financial data, you should be able to slip it into any of those boxes. So how do I mean? You have the use of financial data and information, and the data and information box does not necessarily mean it must be financial data. You can slip in non-financial data as long as your arguments are strong. So don't forget, in the case study paper, you have a lot of data. So what the examiner wants is strong 4 arguments. Strong 4 arguments. So if the non-financial data you want to provide is very strong and it will resonate with the report readers or the examiners, please provide it in any box you want to put it. So for data and information, I normally call it in my reports general overview. You can put it in general overview. If you don't want to put it there, you can put it in issues and options. Issue and options, I normally call it challenges and considerations as a header. You can put it there. Then if that non-financial data is very strong around ethical issues, the organization is infringing on some laws or some compliance issues permit around your non-financial data, you could put it in ethical issues. Then if there are risks the organization needs to assess, or you've assessed some risk based on the case, you can put it in the 6th box, talking about risk assessment, evaluative skills, and judgment. So any box that resonates with you as a header, and whether financial or non-financial data, and is strong, like you spoke to competition. If I have info from the exhibit about competition, strong competition, I will put it in analytical skills if I were the person writing that report. Analytical skills speaks to, maybe you have a model. For example, they ask you to use Ansoff matrix to analyze competition for a business, and the firm is going through stiff competition. I can use that Ansoff matrix to analyze how Ansoff matrix will help the company overcome competition and what they need to do based on the quadrant matrix of Ansoff, and provide context under analytical skills. So I can just call analytical skills analysis of the business competition. So don't forget, you can't use any of these headers in the exam. On no account should you use any of these headers. You'll be shooting yourself in the leg. So data and information should not come as a header in your exam at all. Never use analytical skills as a header. These are guides. So use your own words. If you look at my reports, you'll see that I used my own headers, how it resonates with me. So whatever way it resonates with you, use headers that are replete with information that comes from your thought processes based on the case. So in answering your question succinctly, yes, any box could suffice for any non-financial data, but let it resonate with whatever header you are using or whichever box you are putting your information in. Let it fit in there. That's what I mean. I hope you're okay with my submission.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, you're welcome. You're welcome. Good question. Thank you for bringing that to the fore. All right. So having said that, that's an example of the marking key. But then no matter how we look at the assessment procedure, you still need to practice. So I have a lot of reports on more than 10 reports of different diets. We have 22 editions of the case study paper already. So I have more than 10 reports that I've structured and written for past papers. I think 10 on my YouTube page. If you go to the past question and answer session on my YouTube page, you see all the reports there. I got some complaints. Maybe YouTube had some issues with some of the links, but then you can reach out to me or go to the platform. I can share the PDF format so that you can understand how to integrate some of these reportings. And one of the documents I'll be providing is the 22 diets, one-page document of what has been tested so far. So you have 21 days. So I would advise you to keep practicing these reports, practice writing it. You read the reports, practice and write. I told some of you that the call that I wrote May 2019, and I passed it at first attempt with a good score of 78 at first attempt. So now, good result, good, but you must understand the story behind what I did. So what did I do? Number one, I had a very good tutor. I registered with Platinum Gold. Their resources were top-notch, fantastic resources. They gave me that edge. So I registered with them, bought their videos in Lagos, Platinum Gold, and they showed me how to go about reporting. So before May 2019, there was no executive summary. You didn't need to write an executive summary. Executive summary started November 2019. So I didn't need to write an executive summary. So they taught me that. I understand the information. Then they said, no matter the video, no matter the reading of the study text, if I don't practice past diets, I will not pass case study. I understood that. So I had to start from November 2014 down to November 2018. That's how many diets? I think 10 or so. I don't know. How many diets if you calculate? Now, I practiced all those diets and wrote the reports based on the guide. So I'm not surprised. Well, to God be the glory, of course, we give God the glory first. But secondly, your input, your grind. So practicing from November 2014 under timed conditions, at times I'll time myself for 4 hours and do that report myself, mark it myself honestly. I mean, it's inevitable to score 78. It's inevitable. I wasn't surprised. I didn't even finish requirement 2. I was in the process of requirement 2, trying to write up the body of the work when they said submit. But you see, the examiner will look at how you started the report, you follow the structure, follow the order, and he gives you your marks immediately because this guy is on the right path. So that's it, and that's what I'm admonishing you. Go through past papers. You have a lot of resources. There were no YouTube that time. If I had most of these privileges I have now, I don't think I would have a problem with some of these papers. So please put in the grind. The responsibility is on you, and you need to process some of this information, then practice with it. I always say practice makes perfect. If you practice, you will definitely understand how to navigate the examiner's challenge. Examiners want to pass students. It's just that you have to give them the reason and the why to pass you. So please make it easy for your scripts to be marked. Make it very easy by following the structure, presenting your content in a very presentable and articulate way, and you pass case study very easy. One of my students scored 70 in the last diet. Very simple. I told her, this is what you do, practice with it, and it's easy. So please, you'll be the next person to provide your result. It should be very high, a very good high score. All right, so let's look at this next one, talking about how our grades are awarded. So we have the competency assessment, and the 4 levels in each box. You need to provide 4 superior arguments. So we've looked at 8 boxes. So each of those boxes, like for example, data and information, you need to speak to 4 superior argument. So under each box, for example, you are talking about general overview, you need to speak to 4 things. So if you want to number them, number 1, number 2 is fine. If you look at some of my reports, I number them. If you don't want to number them, start each argument on another paragraph. Very important. So whatever argument you're providing on each box, let it be minimum 4. And that's how you achieve superior achievement. So 4 good points. So for example, data and information, you are talking about general overview of the case study paper or requirement 1. Let there be 4 different points under data and information, general overview, for example. Number 2, professional tools, maybe analysis of the computations. 4 superior achievement under different paragraphs to provide very clear context. So that gives you superior achievement. So 4, 4, 4, 4 for those 8 boxes. Any box you are writing on, just know to have superior achievement, you must provide 4 clear arguments. You may have more than 4, but then please have 4. And if you're not sure of the 4, because of time, 4 hours is like 40 minutes in the case study exams. Don't forget. Before you know, the next thing they will just tell you 3 hours gone. You have 30 minutes to go. So you have to be pragmatic and use your time very judiciously. So 4, 4. If you're not sure of some points, maybe provide 5. So the examiner will give you, pick your best 4 and mark you. But don't go writing 10. You will not get more than 4 in each box or each argument. So at the expense of others. So 4 superior argument is okay. So that's how we encourage under each box or each header. Please write 4 good argument, especially for requirement 1 and requirement 2. So if you do 4 or provide 4 thoughts, 4 paragraphs, you have 4 good marks. If you provide 3, which is competent achievement, you provide at least 3 arguments, you have 3 marks. And if you repeat 2 points in the same way or in different words, and the examiner reads between the line, he will give you 3 marks. So make sure you differentiate your points and your arguments very distinctly. So if you provide 3, you have competent achievement. If you provide 2, which is below competent achievement, it shows you have partial understanding of the concept. So, and it's not sufficient evidence. If you provide at least 2 points or arguments under each of the headers across the 8 boxes, then you have partial understanding and you find it challenging or it will be hard passing the case study paper. So minimum you should stop is competent achievement. 3 for each box. 3 discussion, 3 arguments for each box. If you provide only 1 on each box, then you've attempted to demonstrate little or sparse evidence or understanding of the case study paper or the content of the exhibits. So 1 shows you don't have any competence. And if you don't even provide any, there's no evidence of understanding or skill demonstrated, that's 0. So 4 is recommended, should be your minimum. 3, you don't have points, you have drought in the exams, well, 3 should be your minimum, your lowest minimum. Don't go below competent achievement. These ones are not options. They are not options. So don't even near not competent or void. Don't near this. So very important. And these are the professional skills that are interrelated. So weak data use leads to poor analysis. You need to understand and read in between the lines. Accountants are number people, I understand. But then you find it challenging if you only depend on numbers to pass case study. You must not be a number person. You have to divorce yourself from that mentality of numbers. You need to know how to write reports. You need to know how to present to the board of directors. You need to know how to talk. You need to know how to present your numbers crunched in, in a way that letters, in comprehensive discussion. For those that are not even accounting background people or have an accounting knowledge, to understand what is gross profit margin, what is net profit margin. Some people don't know that. But if you tell them that gross profit speaks to a difference between the revenue earned in the company and the direct cost of earning that revenue, somebody will resonate with that. And that's what report writing tells you what to do. And that's what the case study paper is, fine-tuning and harnessing your skill to be able to do in real life. So please, weak data use, poor analysis, inadequate analysis hinders evaluation and judgment. And also poor evaluation analysis weakens your conclusions and undermines reservations and recommendations. So it's very important to be able to fine-tune and practice these skills before case study day. So the overall paper grades and your assessment is based on the integrative and the communication skills you provide. So consider your audience, the person reading your report, and the different requirements and expectations from you should help provide your audience with the appropriate information you need to provide to them. Also, communication guidelines around avoiding jargons, colloquialism, using simple language, professional, avoid casual, indiscreet comments, be succinct, be relevant, be tactful, are very good qualities of a good report. So jargons around what is not in the case, taking things personal, maybe based on the case, colloquialism, being very complex, trying to use English that your reader may not even understand. Try to be very simple, use clear text, use clear language that is decipherable by anybody that reads your report, and that makes your report highly relevant. Also ensure your report answers the set of requirements, 2 of them. Answer the requirement. Don't go outside the requirement. Do what the examiner asks you to do. And that's what you're tested on. So that's how grades are awarded very, very comprehensively in the case study paper. All right, so any questions so far? Any questions?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Oh, yes, sure. Please bring it on.
I want to ask that during if I'm to write the executive summary now, after I concluded my requirement 1, so maybe there was no time to conclude my requirement 2. Can I write on the requirement 2 in the executive summary?
Okay, fantastic question. Fantastic question. So, requirement 2 is actually hard to finish, I must admit, because myself, I did not finish requirement 2, but I didn't need to write an executive summary. So what I will advise based on your fantastic question is that so far you've covered, because if you don't write the body of the requirement 2's discussion, you may not be able to have the basis of writing the executive summary. Excuse me. So your appendices are the foundation you use to write. So once you have the appendices, you go ahead to write the body of your executive summary, the body of your requirement 2. Now, wherever you've covered in requirement 2, you have 8 boxes also for requirement 2. Number 1, general overview, that's data and information. 2 is professional tools, which is analysis of what you've calculated. 3 is analytical skills, discussing what you've calculated. 4 is issues and options, challenges and considerations in the case. 5 is ethical issues. 6 is evaluative skills and judgment. 7 is conclusion. And 8 is recommendation. So anywhere you've covered, let's say based on time factor, you've covered box 1, box 2, box 3, box 4, and you're hearing 10 minutes to go. Based on those 4 boxes, you can go and carve out an executive summary for requirement 2. The examiner, while seeing the structure of the report, knows that this is time factor. Under number of circumstances, it's hard to write case study in 4 hours, which is part of how you're tested. You're tested for time management, how you're able to manage your time. So doing that in answering your question, yes, how much you've covered in the write-up, you need to go and write the executive summary. And please, your executive summary should not be based on what is not in the body of the report, because your appendices is what you use to write the requirement 2 body. And the body of the work is also what you transcribe in summary, short lines, to your executive summary. So don't bring in information in the executive summary that is not in your requirement 2 or requirement 1. Whatever is in your executive summary should be a summary of what is in your body of work, because the examiner will interlink them. If he sees executive summary complete and he did not see information in the requirement 2 that is not complete, he'll be wondering, how did you come about this? I hope you understand that.
Yes, sir.
Good. So that's how it works.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Okay, I can see OO's hand up. Please go. Oh, okay. Is it OO that came up first? Well, let's start with OO, then we'll go for AO. All right, OO, please go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, sir, and good evening, everyone on the call. So is more like a suggestion on the executive summary.
Sure, please bring it on.
So I was actually drafting my own report just to practice. So, but I now realized something, that most times, especially on all the videos that I've watched, most tutors, they advise students to, once they get their paper, they should quickly go and do their calculation for appendices. But I now realize that maybe it's just working for me personally anyway. So I realized that for me to really draft my executive summary, do I really need to go and do the whole of appendices? Because the report I drafted for myself, because the calculation that I actually need for executive summary is not something robust. So I'm speaking to gross profit and revenue for requirement 1. Then I quickly move down to contracts, proposal, and some other things that they will ask for. Then I quickly do that calculation, then complete my executive summary. Then I will now move back to appendices, then start computing for others. But I already know that, okay, for that of executive summary, that one is settled. Then I can now focus on others. So I don't need to wait until I compute the whole calculation for appendices before coming back to executive summary. So that's just my own tactics anyway, for all the reports I've drafted so far for practice.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for bringing that to the fore. One disadvantage about that is, like your method, you said it works for you. So whatever it is that works for you, make sure you mirror the examiner's requirement. What do I mean by mirror is that answer his requirement. Whatever he says, whatever method you want to use, if you are calculating and you are transcribing those calculations into the points, into the executive summary, is fine. Whatever process works for you, please do it. And that is why practice makes perfect. There's no one fix for all. Everybody has his method, and you bring up that method, you process that method through practice. So if it works for you, thank you for bringing it on. Anybody that it works for, please employ it. So what I do is, I start with the appendices, finish requirement 1, then I move to requirement 1's boxes, write on all the 8 boxes, then go to the executive summary, and I'll cover out the executive summary. Go back to appendix for requirement 2, do all the calculations, come to requirement 2's discussion, do all the 8 boxes, then come back to the executive summary and carve it out. That's my own method. So OO is giving us another method that may work for you, but please make sure you've tested it in the room of practice. He has tested it and it works for him. It's fine. The most important thing is to score 50. That's the primary objective of your case study paper. Score 50, go across 50, and that is it. But then I'll say that don't write 50 in your goal. Before I write an exam, I always write the goal. This is what I want to pass. So when I was writing case study, I wrote 70. I want to score 70 at least in case study. And when the result came, I overshot 70. So don't write 50 or don't target 50. Please target something, and please write your goals down. Write it down. If you're in this class today and you've not written how many you want to score in case study, not just case study, other papers, then I think you are wrong. Please write down the goal, because the goal will help you work towards achieving it. If you write 90 in SFM, I'll be like, oh boy, the way I'm reading, will I score this 90 at all? You see, that pushes you. But if you're just, I want to score 50, then it will motivate you to work harder. So anyway, let me don't deviate in answering and getting in commenting on what OO said. Yeah, good strategy. If it works for you, please do it. And if it resonates with any other person on the call, please go ahead and employ it. And thank you for bringing that to the fore. All right, let's hear AO. Your hands are up.
Yes, thank you, and good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, nice to have you.
Ask is having to do with time management. Can you recommend if there's a better way for us to be able to manage our time? For example, if I'm answering, yes, we know that when you walk in, you're supposed to do your pre-reading and everything. But when it now comes to the time allocation, because sometimes you might find out that you spend so much time solving the question, solving your appendices, that it now reduces the amount of time to write the discussion of the requirements, one, requirement two, an executive summary. So based on the fact that the expectation is that you read and reread and plan within the 1 hour, can you guide on maybe the amount of time we should be able to, the minimum time we should be able to allocate to each one? Like each of those, for example, now you have your executive summary. Is it that we should put work on it within maybe, for example, 25 minutes, maybe your requirement one, solving requirement one and requirement two, maybe 30 minutes or something like that? Because by the time you are sitting down in the exam hall, you can't carry your watch, so all you got to do is look at the clock on the screen, and figure out how best to manage your time so that you can be able to write and conclude on time. So the question is there any guidance when it comes to time management? Thank you.
All right. Thank you, AO. Fantastic question. Very good question. One of the challenges of the case study paper is time management. Okay, so let me start with answering that question by using the examiner's recommendation. Then I'll come to specifics. So generally, you are provided with 1 hour reading time. So what does that speak to? You read the pre-seen and the unseen for 1 hour. But then I will recommend that for that 1 hour, if you're a fast reader and you're a good reader, you already have the pre-seen, which is maybe exhibit 1 to 5, 2 weeks before the time. You've gone through it, nitty-gritties. You've had a lot of prophets like me, because I always predict the unseen, and the examiner I've never gotten the examiner. So you've gone through a lot of reports, a lot of information online, a lot of predictions. So you are aware and you are conversant with the exhibit 1 to 5. So in the exam, that same pre-seen will be presented to you. The only problem is the new information in the unseen. So I don't think you should spend 1 hour rereading the information. So why you need to read the pre-seen is that you need to connect it to the unseen. In fact, maybe some numbers will be provided in the pre-seen that you need to connect with the numbers in the unseen. So maximum, at least, or at most, let me use at most, 45 minutes. So you've saved 15 minutes. Use reading time to read the unseen and the pre-seen, integrating them, marking down. I hope you are not just reading. Take note that you don't just read and leave, then you forget information and come back. So as you are reading, you are underlining. I think you are allowed to write on your script. During my time, I was writing on my script. I don't know the current dispensation. You are allowed to write on your script. So underline key important points. Not everything in the exhibit is what you use, but key important points, and that will reduce the time you waste on reading or coming back. I forgot, I saw something. You now come back to read. No, underline any information you get to, and it relates to any box you want to provide a context or your thoughts on. Underline it. So as you are reading, don't spend more than 45 minutes on reading. I timed myself that time. 30 minutes, I'm done with reading, because I practice reading it with time. 30 minutes, I'm done with reading. If you're a fast reader, I read very fast. As a matter of fact, I read on screen. Most of my books, I read, they are on my iPad. I don't have hard copy books. I've stopped reading hard copy books. If I want a book, I read it on screen, and I read very fast on screen. So you've having hard copy, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, time yourself, read through the exhibits. Then you have another hour. The second hour is for calculation. So for the calculation, it can be very complex for requirement 2. In fact, most requirement 2 are terrible. I must admit, most ICAN requirement 2 are horrible requirements. In fact, the calculations are confusing. Somehow the calculations for requirement 1 are a bit navigatable. So what our advice is 45 minutes to 1 hour. Now crunch your numbers. 45 minutes to 1 hour. Crunch your numbers, requirement 1 and 2. Then you have that full 2 hours to write your report, which is never enough. So in answering you, AO, succinctly, you need to steal from your reading time and, if possible, your calculation time to add to the report writing time. So more weight should be given to the report writing for requirement 1 and 2, which is 2 hours, but I don't think it's sufficient. So steal from your reading time, steal from your 1 hour calculation time to concentrate on the report writing time, because the report has 16 boxes, requirement 1 and 2. So you need to write 16 boxes, which is hard to actually cover those 16 boxes. I must tell you, it's challenging under exam condition. I've been there. So I can relate. So you need to walk around practicing and fine-tuning that time management skill. So that 1 hour reading time, try to reduce it. 1 hour calculation time, reduce it and give more. If you can take 15 and give your report writing 2 hours, 30 minutes, you will cover so much. But then don't cheat the calculations, because anywhere you miss the context of your calculations, your report may be blurry, it may be blurred based on the calculation, because the calculation is the foundation. So try to provide, your calculations don't need to be 100% accurate, because there's no correct answer, there's no wrong answer in the case study. It all depends on context, following your format and presenting your information. So in answering you succinctly, steal from reading time and try to read faster. Steal from calculation time, try to solve faster, because calculation does not earn you much marks. Then try to eat those times in the report. Add to that 2 hours from other parameters you've stolen time to be able to catch up with the reports. I hope you got some thoughts on that, AO.
Yes, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Good questions we're bringing on, practical, challenging questions. Thank you for bringing them to the fore. All right, so if we don't have any more questions, let's continue with our conversation. But then we're supposed to go on break. Attention span is always very short.